Welcome to our journey into the age of chivalry and valor. Today, we explore the fascinating world of medieval knights.
Knights were essentially professional soldiers who served lords and kings in exchange for land or money.
The process of becoming a knight was rigorous, beginning as a page around the age of 7, and then advancing to a squire.
A squire's training included learning to ride horses, handle weapons, and understand the rules of chivalry.
Knighthood was granted in a ceremony known as the dubbing, where the squire would swear an oath and be knighted by a lord or monarch.
Medieval knights followed a code of conduct known as chivalry, which emphasized bravery, honor, and respect for women and the weak.
A knight's armor typically weighed between 45 to 55 pounds and was made of iron or steel.
The most iconic piece of a knight's armor is the helmet, which evolved over time to offer better protection.
Chainmail was the primary form of armor before plate armor was developed, consisting of small metal rings linked together.
The longsword was the most popular weapon used by knights, but other weapons included maces, lances, and warhammers. Knights often participated in tournaments, which were mock battles that tested their combat skills and entertained spectators.
The phrase, knightly virtues, usually refers to qualities such as courage, justice, mercy, generosity, and faith.
Some knights went on religious expeditions called crusades, aiming to reclaim holy lands from Muslim control.
Knights belonged to various orders, such as the Knights Templar, the Knights Hospitaller, and the Teutonic Knights.
The emblem or coat of arms represented a knight's family and lineage, and was displayed on shields, banners, and surcoats.
Jousting was a popular sport where knights would charge at each other with lances, aiming to unhorse their opponent. Knights were also skilled in siege warfare, utilizing battering rams, trebuchets, and other siege engines to breach fortifications.
Many knights built or lived in castles, which served as fortified residences providing protection and serving as administrative centers.
The legendary King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table are perhaps the most famous examples of medieval knighthood in literature.
Knights often had squires or serfs who helped them don their armor and prepare for battle.
Knights were expected to be devout Christians and often took part in religious ceremonies and pilgrimages.
Heraldry, the system of symbols and colors used in coats of arms, helped identify knights on the battlefield.
Knights could be called upon by their liege lords to provide military service when needed.
Some knights became mercenaries, offering their military expertise to different lords for a fee. The concept of being knighted has survived into modern times, with ceremonial knighthoods still being granted in some countries.
During peacetime, knights managed their estates and acted as lords over the peasants who worked the land.
Knights required extensive training in horseback riding, as mobility on the battlefield was crucial for their effectiveness. A knight's shield not only provided defense but also served as a symbolic representation of their identity. Knights took part in various forms of combat training, including archery, melee fighting, and tactical drills.
The lance, used primarily during jousting, was a long wooden spear designed to unhorse the opponent.
Knights had to keep their armor in good condition, which often involved rigorous maintenance to prevent rust and damage. A knight's spurs were symbolic of their status, often prominently featured in the ceremonial act of knighting. The term freelance originally referred to knights who were not bound to a particular lord and offered their services independently.
Knighthood denoted not just a warrior class but also a social class, often reserved for the nobility or those of high status.
The Tournaments Act of 1292 was aimed at regulating the increasingly popular and sometimes dangerous practice of knightly competitions.
Some knights were granted titles of nobility and given lands in recognition of their service and bravery.
Knights were often portrayed in literature and ballads as heroes embodying the ideals of chivalry and courtly love.
Medieval education for knights included learning etiquette, music, and poetry, reflecting the ideal of the well-rounded warrior.
Courts of chivalry existed to resolve disputes among knights and enforce the rules of the chivalric code.
The decline of knighthood began with the rise of professional armies and the increasing use of gunpowder and firearms in warfare.
Many of the castles built or occupied by knights during the medieval period still stand today as historical landmarks.
Knights played key roles in shaping the political and military landscapes of medieval Europe, leaving a lasting legacy.
Thank you for joining us on this journey back in time. Remember to subscribe for more fascinating historical insights.